Hello, howdy everybody. I hope everyone is having a really good Thursday. It's probably a little bit awkward to see me here on Thursdays and not Sundays. And I'm joined today by I don't even know if I have words to describe. Um, Amazing, lovely, incredible, just absolutely perfect, sweet angel of a human being. I'm actually, you know what? I don't know if you're a human being. I'm pretty sure you're an absolute goddess. I'm joined by Katie, owner of Books with Pictures. Other than the insane heat here in Portland, how are you doing?
I'm super well. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, I normally go live on Sundays with bars, but I wanted to talk today about Free Comic Book Day. It's an event typically held the first Saturday in May. I don't know if everyone knows, but there was a little pandemic this last year and a half, 18 months, however long it's been. So we haven't been able to really have a free comic book day. There's finally one this Saturday. So I definitely want to dive in and really get your perspective on Free Comic Book Day, since you are an expert on all things comic book shop. But before we do that, I do want to say hello to a whole bunch of people in the chat right now. It looks like there's about 13 people, so I'll go ahead and say howdy to everyone. So first of all, hello to Unruly Simeon. How's it going? And then Travis, my friend TM Nerdy. Howdy, friends. One of my favorite people. Thank you for being here. Thomas Jackman says here, I never get any of the books from my LCS. My LCS sucks really bad. We'll maybe get into a little bit of that. Miss So, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And of course, my lovely co-host Mars is in the chat. Thank you for being here. I love you so much, bestie. And then another one of my beautiful friends, Sheena. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, and Fuchsia. Oh, hello. So many beautiful ladies in the chat today. I love it. Thank you all for being here. Going to go through some of these comments. And then, hello, we've got Tony Perez here as well. Hello, Eric. How's it going today? And then Miss So says, looking forward to Free Comic Book Day at my LCS, but I tend to go there only an hour before they close, so the store is less busy. I feel like I have the same. I normally have been going like right before close. Hello to Shane. Hello to Aramis. Thank you for being here. Comic Toby 420, may the force be with you. Hey, you know I'm a Star Trek person. Just kidding. And then, hey, Justin, how's it going? No Good Comics. Thanks for being here, friend. Miss So is saying, hi, Katie. Jumped on me a little bit. John Stout, thank you for being here. Bobby, hello. Oh, Bobby, thank you for being here. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. And then Tim, hello. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Just keep chatting and I will pull up comments in a little bit so that we got all of that out of the way. Not out of the way. I love people who join the chat. So now that we got that, through, Katie, who are you? Tell us who you are. What do you do?
Hi, I'm Katie Pride. I have Books with Pictures, which is a comic book store in Portland, Oregon, in the southeast neighborhood. We're at the southern end of the Lads Edition neighborhood, which is the one that looks like a giant Target if you look at it from above. So, aliens here first.
Yeah.
And let's see. Books with Pictures has been in Portland, has existed for 5 years. We just had our 5-year anniversary. And also have a second location in Eugene that had the amazing foresight to open the first week of March last year. So my partner down there, Andrea, is an absolute rock star and has been holding it together through, all the various apocalypses that we have been cycling through this last year.
Multiple.
And change. Yeah. So we are in Portland. We are in Eugene. Yeah. We definitely focus on being an inclusive space. We are, women run. I run the place. We are sort of very queer friendly, very interested in stocking diverse books. We have a lot of stuff from Black creators. We have as much as we can get from Indigenous creators. We have, you name it. We got all kinds of books. We have a really good kids section that we're always working to develop and make more inclusive, as well as a pretty solid adult section and everything in between.
Yeah, they know about the adult section. I feature all the adult books that I get, and the kids books too. But yeah, if anyone's wondering where I get like all the best recommendations from, like it's literally like you and Nick. Like
we have a really good time, and I do. It cracks me up that like my areas of specialty are like middle grade and YA and super pervy adult stuff. Like that's my space. That's where I want to live. So yeah.
Excellent. You, like you said, you recently had the 5-year anniversary. When I first went to your shop, it was in 2018 when I was just visiting here. I knew that I wanted to move to Portland, and I think that the very healthy comic book scene here in Portland was one of the main like driving reasons why I wanted to move here. And even though I worked at a comic book store and had been going to comic book stores and just fell in love with that, coming to Books with Pictures, literally my favorite place in the world. So thank you for being that inclusive place. It's been described as aggressively diverse, and I love it so much. Like you said, you feature, not only do you feature creators of color, you feature, like you said, Indigenous. I went in the other day and I'm like, there's some books on my list that I want done by Indigenous creators, and like, it was incredible. Had them all. So I really love being able to go into your shop and get my like wholesome family books, and then, the adult stuff too. So I really, really appreciate that.
I laughed the other day. It's not always the case, but at this moment we have an all queer staff, which pleases me. I mean, it's just fun. We have a really good time. And everybody's an artist except me. So everybody has, I'm an occasional writer, but I don't draw, but everybody who works here is also a working visual artist, which I do love.
Yeah. Bronze Age Brian says, I've considered moving to Oregon for Pine State biscuits, but comics is a good reason too.
It's 2 blocks away.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, this little area that Katie's shop is in, Books with Pictures, and maybe you can talk about it in a little bit, is actually in this big, beautiful building that used to be a bookstore and a meat shop. Maybe we'll get into that. But there's this really cool block of like, there's a taco place, there's Double Dragon, which is just absolutely incredible. And then there's Pine State Biscuits, and there's a vegan pizza place, like just this one corner. That's one little like intersection right there. And then your shop is like 2 blocks away. So love it. You moved locations a couple blocks. Tell us about your new location. What's with the big blue building that you're in?
We did. So 2 years ago we moved. We were actually in the same building as Pine State Biscuits, which was very good because when they got misorders, they would bring them to us, which was delicious and cost effective. But we moved up the road 2 blocks, and the reason we moved into this big blue building is because I had the opportunity to buy it. And so I got sort of a crew of investors together, and we purchased this old, it'll be 100 years old in 5 years. It's 95 years old.
Oh my goodness, barely legal.
So we'll have to throw it a birthday party when we get there. So I had the opportunity to buy it. It had been for 26 years an antiquarian bookstore. But before that, so that was like used books, and it was very much that kind of dusty bookstore where you walk in and you like, it is a hazard to you to be in the stacks. Like if you take something off the shelf, something else is probably going to fall on you. But it was also like really magical in that like you could find, as long as you didn't have an agenda, you could find something charming and amazing and wonderful. And I definitely have some books in my collection that came from here. It was run by a crotchety old man named John, who passed away. He passed away, I guess, 3 years ago. Left the building to his son. His son briefly flirted with being a bookseller, but decided that was not the life for him. and so liquidated the inventory and sold the building to me. And
Oh.
so before it was Longfellow's Books, that used bookstore, it was a bookstore called Serendipity Corner, and it was that for about 16. Oh no, it was for a window there. It was Pegasus Books, which is the thing that's now Things from Another World. So it was owned by the Richardsons, who own Dark Horse Comics and Things from Another World. It was rented to them for about 5-6 years, and so a lot of folks in town got their first comic books here, but they got their first comic books here from Pegasus. And then before that, it was Serendipity Corner, which is dear to me because it was also run by a single mom who lived upstairs in the apartment where I live with her kid. And her kid now works at the SPCA, and like we've had drinks a couple times, and like it's lovely.
That is excellent.
And then before that, it was a brake and clutch repair. And before that, it was a grocery store and butcher shop.
There's a lot of excellent history in it, and I'm so glad that you are giving it life. And the way that you described the bookstore as a hazard to walk around, and like your shop is so well organized, it's really great. It's even got like I think one of the things that I remember seeing in the old shop was there was a couch, and that is hand knitted by one of the customers, and it says "Go Big Barda" or "Go Home." I love it. Like everything about this place I love.
Yeah, that was made by my pal Gail. You can find her at I Crocheted the Thing on all platforms. And I actually met Gail at a con because she was wearing a full crocheted Ghostbusters jumpsuit that she had made, complete with proton pack.
Oh my goodness.
She has also made a few full Big Barda headdresses. We got to give one of those away in a like shop drawing a little while ago. So
how many drawings can I put in? How many drawings can I put in right now? I will throw money down for this.
She's a doll. I adore her.
I feel like I'll have to commission maybe to get like a Bitch Planet orange jumpsuit. Totally would rock that. Not right now. It's 100 degrees. Not right now.
But still, I think that Gail would be just the person to crochet you a Bitch Planet jumpsuit.
100%. So this Saturday there's this pretty big event going on called Free Comic Book Day. I've been to quite a few free comic book days in like on both sides. But for someone who has never experienced Free Comic Book Day, what would you describe it as?
Well, Free Comic Book Day, I do want to say first, it is the 20th anniversary of Free Comic Book Day this year, which is great. But for 20 years, Free Comic Book Day is intended to be a celebration of the local comic shop. There are a number of books that comic shops are able to buy at cost from the publishers for the purpose of giving them away. And they always, publishers make their slate of comic books, which is based in some way around what they want to promote. These are definitely like promotional items. Either they're a preview or a partial like excerpt from a larger book, or when they're really doing a good job, they are exclusive content that is tied into a larger publishing initiative, which is like, that's when it makes me super happy, is it's like you can only read this side story if you get the Free Comic Book Day book. I find that much more interesting. But
I'd have to agree with you. I think that the slate of comic books that are coming out for Free Comic Book Day, I'm really interested in. Normally, I mean, I love Free Comic Book Day. Like, don't get me wrong. It's really incredible. I think especially for new readers who maybe don't know where to go or where to start, but especially with the indie publishers this year. Stray Dogs, Something is Killing the Children. There's just so many books that I'm like, I need this and I want to read. So what books are you excited about? I mean, maybe let me ask this. What books are you currently reading right now? Do you have a chance? I know you're super busy. I know you sometimes get a chance to read, but what books are you reading right now?
I do sometimes get a chance to read. Let's see. I read X-Men Tuesday nights like I was going to church. I'm reading all of the X-Men line. As soon as it gets into my building, I sit down and read it. and then usually read it again. So first is that, and it is like such a fangirl move, but I love it. I genuinely adore it. Yeah. I'm also really Something is Killing the Children. It just doesn't get bad. Like, it's so solid. It is such a good book. One of the Free Comic Book Day books this year is Stray Dogs from Image. And it is half reprinted content from the first issue, but it's actually half original content that is prelude to the first issue. So you get like the 2 days before the first issue in the Free Comic Book Day book from Image, which is nice. It's well
done. That's good to know.
I am also, I think probably my most exciting book, and this is going to sound odd, is the Judge Dredd book that Rebellion is putting out. Their All-Star Judge Dredd. So 2020 was supposed to be Rebellion's like repackaging 2000 AD for the American market. It was going to be their big push, and I was so excited for them. They have this anthology book. So if you don't know, 2000 AD is the weekly science fiction magazine, comics magazine in Britain. It is one of the main ways that people in the UK read science fiction comics, and it's weekly anthology. So it's shorts, 3-4 pages per story. Sometimes the stories show up in each one. Sometimes they come and go. And Judge Dredd, which we know in the US mostly through the movies, is a comic that's been running in 2000 AD for, 40 years?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
One of the very cool things about 2000 AD, especially if you also read, say, Marvel comics, 2000 AD runs in real time. Every day in our world is a day in the world of 2000 AD. Everyone in 2000 AD ages at normal human aging pace, which means that if somebody showed up in the comic first 40 years ago, they're 40 years older now. So
I love that timeline so much. That just, yeah, to me that adds to the story.
It really does. Like, it really makes it very rich. So you have stories that like the same writer has revisited 3 or 4 times the same character as they've aged. One of the classics of that is about a character named America, who is this gender complicated, like persecuted person in the world of 2000 AD. And I love them and Offspring. So you get that, but one of the troubles with selling 2000 AD in general is that it's mostly in black and white, and it is in these very short excerpts, and it's oversized, and it's weekly, so it's expensive to import. And so there aren't a ton of American readers who read it. The black and white is very off-putting. A lot of the art is very hyper-violent in ways that we find kind of hard to look at, especially like Americans who aren't manga readers and who aren't used to that sort of like busy, hyper mark-making, violent artwork. I feel like if you read manga, it's actually an easier move to read 2000 AD because the sort of like very busy black and white art is a very manga move. But it's not an American reader friendly comic. And so they've been doing this move to recolor selected stories in a way that makes them easier on the eyes, easier on the storytelling sensibilities. And they've been commissioning some really popular artists and writers to do new stories in the universe that sort of slot into the continuity. Like, you know, on May 1st, 2229, we don't have a story, so you can tell one. Strict continuity in this world, which I do love. So anyway, so I'm excited about the 2000 AD story that's coming out, which is by Al Ewing, who you have seen on things like We Only Find Them When They're Dead and The Immortal Hulk. So he is doing a 2000 AD story. Interestingly, unlike most other Brit writers of his generation, he didn't start writing 2000 AD stories, although it's really common that you do. But he is writing this Dredd story, super excited about it, as a satire of the American police state. Love that.
I think I don't know if we need more of. No, I'm just kidding. I think we need a lot more of that for sure.
So what I'm especially excited about is that, and we can get into this more, I think we should, is that as part of our sort of COVID control move, we are only offering free comic book day books in pre-arranged packages. The reason for that is that our normal setup for free comic book day is that we just lay out all the free books on the counters and people come and browse them sort of shoulder to shoulder, one by one, all day long. Mm-hmm. And I was just sort of envisioning people shoulder to shoulder browsing for half an hour, which is the sort of normal mode. And I can't do that in the current sort of apocalypse climate. So instead, we are giving people menus to peruse while they're waiting in line, and they can choose which pack they want to get, and then they can pick those books up when they're done for the day at the shop, which means that I get to do fun things like decide like which books you should read together, like your comic book pairings. So like I said, I'm super excited about this Judge Dredd anthology book, and I'm also super excited that I am pairing it with the preview of On Tyranny.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So On Tyranny is coming from 10 Speed Press, which is a smaller press out of San Francisco. And it is their graphic edition of Timothy Snyder's book on fascism and authoritarianism in the 20th century. So I feel like that is a really good pairing with Judge Dredd. And then the other thing I'm pairing it with is Black Mask's Black and Cal Exit. Mm-hmm. So Black is a story about what if there was a world where only Black people had superpowers, and Cal Exit is a post-apocalyptic story of California seceding from the United States. And I feel like the politics of Judge Dredd, On Tyranny, and Black and Cal Exit together, it is absolutely on fire. I think it's the best thing we're offering for Free Comic Book Day this year. I'm so excited about it.
That sounds so incredible. You know, I've never been part of like a free comic book day where you put these like comic book pairings together. But I feel like those, like you said, would be like this beautiful, perfect pairing. Me as this chaotic neutral, I would be putting Judge Dredd or On Tyranny in with like whatever My Little Pony is going to be. My Little Pony, which you know is 100% my brand.
It is so good.
Yeah.
And super subversive, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
Like, My Little Ponies is all about, like, really understanding your feelings and also resolving conflict with as little violence as possible, which is the sort of thing we need in the world today.
Yeah, I agree.
I love My Little Pony.
Yeah, 100%. I had never read any My Little Pony, had never read any Transformers until both of them came together. And I'm like, this is what I need. And I'm pretty sure Nick, who works at the shop as well, saw that I was getting My Little Pony. And he was like, I think this ended up in your box. I'm not really sure. And I'm like, you're sure. You know this.
Me.
That is for me, I assure you.
Nick doesn't appreciate My Little Pony, but I do want to say James Asmus, who wrote the My Little Pony Transformers mashup, is a customer of mine. And he was in the other day with his kid, and he told me that really of all the things he's written, My Little Pony Transformers is the one that made him most happy to sit down and write, which is,
yeah. It's excellent. It's great.
It's very, very good.
If there were 5 of the new free comic book day books that you'd be like, these are the ones that I'm pulling for Jennifer, what would you pick?
All right. So Fun Girl Tales of a Grown-Up Nothing.
Okay.
Is the book that's coming from Silver Sprocket.
Yes, I love Silver Sprocket a lot.
And they sent out a note today informing us, one, that they had to literally stop the presses and pull the Coca-Cola ad off of it because Coca-Cola declined to have their advertising placed on that book. Probably because of the scene where she stabs a pancake with her strap on. So obviously
you know me. You know me so Katie, you know me so well. That's one of the books. Okay.
Um, I have not read yet the Kodansha Rent a Really Shy Girlfriend preview, but it is adorable, Jennifer. It's so cute. And it is about a girl with social anxiety who decides that the way she's going to manage her social anxiety or get over her social anxiety is by becoming a teenage call girl.
That's some heavy stuff, but
Or a rent a girlfriend. I don't think
okay.
I think that the teen friendly approach is that this is
Okay.
not, there's no sex involved. She's just a rent a girlfriend.
I think that that definitely, you know, I mean, I'm obviously not a teenager, and I was starting to become a teenager when cell phones started to become a thing. So I think that teens in this age, like, you can't shy away from that because, like, they are experiencing that. So I don't know. I feel like that would be 100% age appropriate, even if it kind of toes the line a little bit there.
Mm-hmm. So Enter the House of Slaughter is
Yes.
amazing.
Okay. And it's like the not origin story, but it's like the other person, right?
So it's like the zoom out. So in Something is Killing the Children, we meet Erica Slaughter when she shows up in
Hmm.
Archer's Peak to save the children from these monsters, right? That's where we meet her. And we don't see like she has bosses. And so this is the sort of zoom out meta universe story of Erica Slaughter of the House of Slaughter. Who are the other slaughters and how do they work and what do they do? So this is world building for Something is Killing the Children the outside of the sky. You're cracking me up. I
Yeah.
can't.
Sorry. I couldn't pass up this comment because that's beautiful.
So anyway, it is technically reprint material in that it is excerpted from Enter the House of Slaughter #1, but Enter the House of Slaughter #1 is not out yet. So if you want to preview, this is the place where it is, and it's just James Tynion won the Eisner for Best Writer this year. Completely well deserved. I don't want to say that he can write all of the things because I do have other writers who I want to occasionally get work, but he can write very many things and I will not be mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just crushing it right now. And Something is Killing the Children is so good. So good. So let's see. Definitely that one. Are you a Critical Role person? Is that your jam?
Critical Role is not, for the only reason because it is so daunting to me. I am 100% a D&D person. I love that, but I never got into Critical Role the way that I think that I should have. So it's kind of, for me, it's almost like Supernatural. I hear people really love the show Supernatural, but I'm too afraid to start with a show that's like 10 plus seasons long.
I'm
So that's where
currently
I'm at.
finally binging Lucifer as my trash television, which
Yes,
is 5
yes.
seasons long, and I never watched a bit of it until right now, but now it is my like background noise trash TV. Oh my god, it's delightful. I would probably hand you Dungeon is Back.
I saw that one and it really did look, I thought it was I thought it was like a straight up D&D book because it had a like Dragonlance, whatever, like Dragonlance logo looking.
So the important thing to know about Dungeon, it's a spoof of Dungeons and Dragons, literally, like that's what
Yeah.
it is. But it's been running many years. I want to say since the 80s, and is how do they say about electronic musicians? Big in Europe. It's a hugely popular French comic that has been translated into English repeatedly, but not consistently, and is just very funny and delightful and sort of intricately detailed funny art. Like there's a lot of background jokes in the art. It's a D&D spoof. It is a lot of fun, and Louis Trondheim is extraordinary, and I'm delighted that he's doing this thing. So yeah, that one.
I'm so excited. I will be there volunteering and helping out. I really miss working in a comic book store, but can't devote a lot of time other, outside of the buying and the reading comic books. That's a whole nother hobby. So I'm very excited to be helping out this Saturday. Scott, who is in the chat, I believe you'll also be there too. And Josue is sometimes here. He may be recording his podcast tonight. So
I am so fond of him. And is going to be working our door position. If anybody else on the chat is in Portland, I have a few holes in the volunteer schedule still. Especially underlining the door position, because I do need someone to sit at the door and monitor our interior breathing bodies.
Yeah.
So
don't count the non-breathing ones. Don't worry about them.
Zombies are fine, but if you are alive and breathing, I do need to limit the number of people inside. Yes. That should be the new thing. We don't require proof of vaccination. We just require proof of life. If you're breathing, but if you're not, like, that's fine. As far as I know, zombies at the moment are not highly contagious.
Yeah, and whether you're breathing or not, masks are still required. So, speaking of which, if someone were to come to the shop, what does it look like? What does the process look like if someone is walking up to the shop? What should they expect?
And here's the plan, and we've never done it this way before. So the plan is it's limited interior to 15 people inside the building at a time, plus staff.
Plus staff. Okay.
Plus staff. And staff is 3. But so there's going to be someone at the door keeping track of ins and outs of how many people in the store. And so there's going to be a line. Almost certainly most of the day. Usually most free comic book days we thin out by about 4 p.m. So the person at the beginning who was like, I go in the last hour, like, not a bad idea. But the beginning of our day is packed. There will be people working the line, both to keep everybody entertained, make sure you're hydrated. It's going to be in the 90s. So there's going to be volunteers with like water bottles and sodas to make sure that you're not dying. And there's going to be someone working the line with a clipboard with menus for the previously mentioned comic packs. So you can look at, hey, if I get comic pack I get these 3 comics. Those are the ones I want. Or probably the way this is going to go for most people is what I really want is this one. So I will take the pack that has that one in it. You will then get that's going to be really hard for you, Scott. Steve is really difficult. He's the worst prima donna. Have you met him? He's the nicest man.
I haven't.
He's going to be with us. So anyway, you are going to pick your pack. You are going to get a ticket that corresponds to that pack. And the nice thing about that too is that they are only going to have as many tickets as there are physical packs.
Nice. So no one will get upset or
one physical ticket for each physical pack, and if the ticket is gone, the pack is no longer available. So
get there early, folks.
Get there early, get the comics you want. Then so you'll have your ticket, you'll come into the store, you'll shop the store. If you're really only here for free comics and you don't want to shop the store, you don't have to go inside. And there will be someone around the corner on the other side of the building in a tent with all of the free comic book day packs, and you can trade your ticket for the pack you chose and you can go on your way. So normally in a normal free comic book day arrangement, the objective is to filter as many people through your building as possible so that they buy things. Like in general, the purpose of the free comic book day is to put people in the store so that they can impulse buy something along with the comics that you're giving them for free. Even though you didn't get them for free, you bought them for money. But this year, because of COVID and because of sort of trying to manage people around that, we are going to be focusing on limiting people in the store. So if you're only there for free comics, you take your ticket, you go around the corner, you pick up your free comics, you go on with your day. And if you want to come in and shop, you get to the door, you get filtered through to the interior, you do your shopping, and then when you're done, you go out the door and you go pick up your free comics and you go on your way. But getting that ticket means that those comics are held for you. So you can hold on to that ticket as long as you want, shop whatever, and then when you're done, you can go and get your comics. So that's the plan. In the parking lot, which is to the east of the building, there is going to be tents for creators coming to sign, and we've got a fantastic slate of people coming to sign comics all day long from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. We have got, let's see if I can do it without looking, Kat Ferris, first thing in the morning, and Kat is a local artist. She does a ton of gorgeous watercolor, and she just had a middle grade horror book with Cullen Bunn come out called The Ghoul Next Door. She's also, my favorite of hers is My Boyfriend is a Bear, which is about dating a bear. Not like a large furry man, but like an actual bear. And their big relationship conflict is about him destroying things in her apartment, and also about that one time when he needed to go hibernate. Bears. You could do worse.
Sounds like she's holding a grudge against him.
It's fine. They're fine. So Kat first. Following Kat is actually her husband, Ron Chan, along with his collaborator, Paul Tobin. They had a book come out this year, also middle grade, called Earth Boy. And they've also been the collaborating team on a million Plants vs. Zombies comics. So Paul and Ron for Earth Boy and their other collaborations. Paul is also the creator with his wife Colleen of things like Bandette and Banana Sunday. Paul's prolific. He's also a young adult novelist. I don't know how that man writes as much as he writes. He's amazing. After them is Robin Robinson, who is local, and their book, No One Returns from the Enchanted Forest, is their debut, middle grade graphic novel that is adorable, about a little pointy-nosed goblin who has to go on an epic fantasy quest but has never thought of themselves as brave before. So they have to muster up their courage and go on a quest into the Enchanted Forest. It's adorable. Robin's great. So they're going to be here signing from noon to 2. After that, gosh, I should probably call up the schedule. Apologies.
No worries at all. And someone in the chat mentioned Paul, and I believe Paul Tobin did Bunny Mask as well, which is
he's currently doing Bunny Mask from Aftershock, which is fabulous. One of the funny things about Paul is that he does all this middle grade stuff, and Paul's middle grade stuff is great. I have no objections to his middle grade stuff. But when he writes adult material, it is rip-roaring, hyper-violent, hyper-sexual, fantastic stuff.
Yeah. It's creepy, and it's on the edge of your seat, suspense, and I feel like that's really hard to do in a comic book form, because with movies you have the scenes and it's doing its thing and you hear the music, but with comic books that's a little bit harder to do.
No, Paul's fantastic. Okay, so after Robin Robinson, No One Returns from the Enchanted Forest, is Steve Lieber, from 4 to 6 p.m. Steve is so talented, and a pretty good friend of mine. He and his wife, Sarah, are both close friends of the shop, actually, investors in the building, amazing. Love them. Steve is an artist. Sarah's a writer. And Steve this year won two Eisners for Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen is a collaboration with Matt Fraction, also Portlander, and they are very, very old friends. But Jimmy Olsen, if you didn't read it, is this madcap, mile a minute, absolutely bonkers, funny book that is funny about Jimmy Olsen trying to figure out who's trying to kill him. So that Steve drew that. Steve also drew the Fix with Nick Spencer a couple years ago, which was incredibly funny crime comedy. The plot didn't hold together real good after the first volume, but the art is beautiful. Steve's strength to me is physical comedy. He can draw a pratfall like nobody can draw a pratfall. Like he is a stage comedian in art form. He's also very good at drawing dogs. And yes, exactly. 3 jokes per panel minimum. So that's Steve. He also, a decade or so ago, did a book called Whiteout with also Portlander and my childhood babysitter, Greg Rucka, which is a sort of like locked door mystery, murder mystery in Antarctica. And one of my favorite tidbits about Whiteout is that all of the snow in the panels is physical snow on the pages. So Steve sat with a dry brush with white paint on and just flicked the bristles to like snow white paint onto his drawings. So it's not a digital effect. The reason that the pages look like they are covered in snowfall is because Steve like took his physical drawings and threw white paint at them, which is incredibly brave and dedicated to the bit and terrifying.
Yeah. You've got to be extremely confident that that is going to work out.
Right? Like I just spent 2 days drawing and inking this spread. Now I'm going to throw white paint at it. But it's super duper cool. And then our final art guest is Leila Del Duca, whose current thing is the House of Lost Horizons with Dark Horse, but is also the writer of Afar, the artist of Shutter, and just a phenomenally multi-talented person. I should actually also plug Leila Del Duca's second volume of Afar, just went live on Kickstarter this morning. Yesterday. Yeah. So if you liked the first volume of Afar, which is this like space fantasy, you should definitely go and back it. And if you don't back it, I backed it, so you can buy it at the store.
Oh, excellent. So then there should be like as a retailer, I don't normally they'll do like 10 or 20 and like you just so excellent. So that'll be there.
Yeah. So we'll have them in the store as well. Yep. Oh, and Image is committed to printing it. So once the Kickstarter funds, it will also be published through Image.
Oh, that's very cool. I've noticed that it feels like Image and creators who are doing Kickstarters, they have this very interesting relationship recently. I can't like put my finger on it, but I feel like there's things that were maybe started with Image and then going to a second volume on Kickstarter, or maybe like back and forth. On the Stump, I think did that, and I feel like there was another one as well.
6X.
Yes. Yep. Volume 2. Yep. What is it? Terms of Service. Is that the second one?
I'm so excited about that. I backed it. Yeah. I can't even tell you. Yeah, so we're seeing it with Image books, we're seeing it with Dark Horse books, and we're seeing it with Boom books. And it's interesting. Yeah. I don't know how inside baseball you want to get, but they're interesting because they're all different business arrangements. So Image, as much as you need to be acquired into Image, there's an editor who decides if Image wants to publish you or not. Aside from that, Image is basically a vanity press. Like you pay Image to publish your book. And in exchange, you get the rights to all of your shit, which is great.
Yeah.
But you either pay for your book out of the returns on your first volume. So maybe you don't make any money because Image is getting, you are paying for the printing of your book through your sales. And if you come up short, if you don't sell as many of the book as you thought you would, you owe Image money at the end of the day. Or you pay up front to do the printing, and then you can actually make money on it when it sells. So when you see Image creators fundraising for their books, they're fundraising that piece, is my understanding.
I had also been under the impression that with Image, creators get paid for their single issues, but then there's not much money to be made once it's in trade. Is that true as well, or?
I don't think so. I mean, it's contract specific, right? Everybody
Mhm.
has their own lawyer, I hope, who negotiates their own contract, I hope. But so that I could see that being a specific publisher arrangement. But in any case, yeah, for image, like a standard image contract involves paying the money up front or paying them out of your sales. And so if you're doing a Kickstarter, that might be because that money up front you don't have. And they're like, we'd love to publish your book. Yeah, right. So alternately, Dark Horse has this interesting thing going right now, where they have a specific sort of line that is about publishing successful Kickstarted works, where you might kickstart your comic independently, and if it does well, you can then go to Dark Horse and say, hey, I have a successfully Kickstarted comic. Do you want to print it? And that is, I don't remember the name of it, but there's a specific name for that sort of path to publishing with Dark Horse. And then Boom is running their own Kickstarters, which is bonkers crazy.
Yeah, I think that
things,
was like Berserker is just
for things like Berserker,
insane.
And so the Boom is singling out, like, here are the parts of this publishing package that we are going to make available direct to fans from us, and then we're going to use that Kickstarter money to fund the publishing that we're doing with comic shops. So they're like, you know, we are going to make all this money on Kickstarter exclusives for Berserker, and then we're also going to sell other different exclusives to comic shops. I do not understand how the appetite for this is as high as it is, but it seems to be working for them.
Yeah, I think so it's the exclusivity. Like, I think it's that someone can get, I don't know, 1 in 1,000 comic, I guess, variant cover, whatever it may be. I feel like that's the draw.
So Boom is playing around with, in this very different way than I feel like either Image Books or Dark Horse Books. Boom is playing around with, like, what if we ran our own Kickstarters, basically fundraised the traditional publication of our book with the Kickstarter publication of our book, and did both. It's real weird.
That's excellent.
Comics is weird.
Yeah. And you and I, every now and then, we happen to see each other in the shop, and I feel bad because I'm like, I could literally talk to you like all day just about comic book business stuff and stuff like that. But it's interesting how all of these different publishers have all of these different means of doing business, which is, I mean, you know, they're right. But I think that causes some of the not so fun parts of the business that we don't like, the seedy sides. And so anyways, that's me going off on a tangent a little bit there. So Katie, for people who are maybe this free comic book day is their first venture into a comic book store, or maybe this is their first free comic book day. If someone wanted to like support your store or continue getting comics from you, what would you recommend?
I mean, folks should come out on Free Comic Book Day as long as they're comfortable doing so. We're requiring masks inside and outside, and I would love to see people here. I think it's going to be really fun. I think the important thing to know on Free Comic Book Day, and I've said it already, is that the comics aren't free for us. And the point of the day is to celebrate the shop. I feel like if it is hard for you to buy comics, and especially if there's a kid in your life, like, come on down, get that kid free comics. Like, I am all about that. Yeah. But if you are able to come in and buy comics, like, understand that we're relying on this being a really hot sales day for us. So definitely, if you can buy things from your LCS while you're there doing Free Comic Book Day, do that. And then beyond that, so if you want to support my store, you can go to bookswithpictures.com and you can place an order. We do personal shopping. It's about 2 weeks out right now in terms of like how long you wait until I write to you with your personal shopping. But we do personal shopping. So if you know kind of what you want, but not really, I'm happy to pick out some deep cuts for you. And if you know exactly what you want, there's just an easy form that you can fill out that says what you want. And we will fill you in. We will write you back and say, hey, we have it, or we don't, or we'll order it, whatever. I think now more than ever, as distribution stuff gets weird, having a pull list at your local comic shop is the best way that you can support your local comic shop. Pre-ordering trades when what you want is trades, having a pull list when what you want is singles, giving us tools to know how many books to order is the best thing you can do. After that, the other best thing you can do is bring your friends. Get your friends into comics. Bring your friend in who has seen every single Marvel movie and has never read a comic book, and they feel kind of embarrassed about it, because they don't need to feel embarrassed about it. They just need to come in and buy that one where Punisher from the End of Time tries to kill baby Thanos, and we'll all have a good time together. There are so many good books. And it is, I don't know your LCS. Maybe they suck. Some of them do. But for the most part, people who work in comic shops do it because they love connecting people with comic books. So, I feel like there's so much good comics inspired content in the world right now. There is, Sweet Tooth was amazing. I haven't seen the new Suicide Squad movie, but my understanding is that if you like a bloodbath, it's a real good bloodbath. The MCU stuff, even the What If show that came out last night that features Captain America, Peggy Carter, there are comics for that. If you need more of her, you can read Exiles from 2 years ago, and it was brilliant. And it has Captain America, Peggy Carter in it. So read that. So anyway, what I'm saying is go to your local comic book store. If you're informed about these things, have a poll. Don't rely on buying things off the shelf. They don't know what you want. And if you have friends who don't read comics, bring them in and let them get excited about it like you're excited about it. Because, if they're friends with you, they're probably a giant nerd.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like since right after the pandemic, right before the pandemic is when I moved to Portland, and I've been pretty much inside most of this time. Haven't really gone out too much, but right now all of my friends are on the internet, and there's a couple of them that I'm going to get to hang out with this Saturday at Free Comic Book Day that I am so excited about. Anything else you want to talk about? Any books that you're reading? Any this is an underrated book, or just what else do you want to talk about?
I do want everyone to know about Alone in Space, which is the recent released collection of Tilly Walden. And it is specifically her comics between ages 15 and 20. Now, Tilly Walden's started publishing graphic novels when she was 18, and is currently at, I believe, age 26, professor at the Comics Arts program in Maine, which I've lost the name of. But her early stuff is, she is a prodigy. There's no doubt that she is a prodigy, but her early stuff is more surreal and interesting than her later stuff. She moved into autobio later in life. But her early stuff is this very squishy, strange, surrealist, thinking about big teen feelings in the form of giant cats.
Yeah.
And
there's metaphors within metaphors, I guess. But it
truly beautiful work. And so I have this squad of comics retailers that I hang out with. that has produced 2 so far bastard title editions. And someone appears to be knocking on my door.
Oh, do you need to take it?
I don't know.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jasper, can you go open the door and see who's there? The side door, it might be pizza.
It might be.
Just throw a mask on. Thank you. You can just grab anyone.
Did you see my messages in the chat?
I didn't know what I wanted.
No,
to
were
eat
you
for
leaving
dinner.
messages in the chat?
I only left 2.
What's your username? Go check the door.
Oh, JP.
Oh.
It's not very secure, I know.
Jasper, my son, is going to check the door
Okay.
and also wants us to know that he is in the chat as JP. So
JP. Well, the next time you comment, JP, it will be featured here. And thank you for checking on the pizza for us. I didn't know what I was going to have for dinner, and now I'm pretty sure it's going to be pizza.
Yeah. So our anyway, the Bastard Title crew is like me and 5 other shops who are just pals, and who have been doing these commissioned slip covers and book plates for books that we really like. So the first one we did was Alice de Campy's Dracula Motherfucker. With Erica Henderson. And then the second one was Tilly Walden's Alone in Space. We also did... Oh, now he's just running across the street. Okay, JP will not reappear in chat because he is going to play stickball.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a friend who didn't have pizza. I am like hanging on to, I'm like, I need to know.
So we have a Bastard Title edition of Alone in Space with this beautiful cover that we commissioned from Claire Scully, who is amazing. And then a Tilly Walden book plate. Yeah. And
it's beautiful, by the way.
Really beautiful.
I posted mine, and a friend of mine who is a fan of Tilly Walden, I believe he lives in LA, and was like, how do I get that? And I'm like, you got to get it from Books with Pictures.
He can order online from us. We'll ship it. We got plenty.
Yep. I feel like you do a very, very excellent job of that. There's been several books that I've like featured on the show or talked about, and you've hooked some people up with it, especially thinking about people who don't have great local comic shops like yours that are so inclusive and diverse and are going to get something different than, not to knock any of the like Marvel or DC stuff, but if you're maybe tired of the now like 20 Batman titles that there are.
Yeah. I do want to... You asked about books right now. Book right now. Did you read... I know I sold it to you. Did you read Cinnamon?
I have not. I haven't had a chance to read any of my books this week. I'm off tomorrow. I will be reading all of them tomorrow. I've heard that it's really, really good, which is surprising because Behemoth has been so hit or miss.
They have. So Cinnamon is I drew this in an art school project, and it is just about a house cat's fantasies. Hello, JP. I see you.
Very much lag.
Do you want to come and you can stand behind me if you want?
I just want to tell you that whatever you say, it has like a minute of lag.
He wants us to know that there's lag on the channel.
Okay. It happens. There's a little bit of Wi-Fi, So
science. Cinnamon is a book about a house cat named Cinnamon who has elaborate fantasies of himself as a like urban vigilante.
Oh.
And it alternates between what's happening in like cat world and what's happening in the brain of the cat. And it's very, very cute. Very, very funny.
That's excellent. So for all of you who are going to Books with Pictures or to your LCS on Saturday, pick up Cinnamon or Cinnamon?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. Okay.
Cinnamon.
Pick up Cinnamon. Is there any other book that you feel like people just, I mean, I have my personal favorites. I feel like I have been yelling about The Many Deaths of Layla Starr since before it came out, and I literally tell everyone that you need to go and pick it up. Is there any other book that you feel, because I talk about it like that and Swamp Thing. I love Rom V so much. Is there any other book that you just feel like people need to know about?
I mean, sure, when I'm not looking, he shows up. Gosh, I mean, probably, but they're not in front of me right now.
There's a lot of books.
There's so many books. I do want to say it is not a comic book. What is it called? It's called like Another History of Art.
It's not.
You know the one I mean, with the monkey. Yeah, Another History of Art by Anita Coons. It's not a comic. It is a utterly weird alternate rendering of art history in a fantasy world where all of the great masters of art history were women. And it is this Canadian artist who has redrawn a bunch of big famous paintings with women in them. It is one of the weirder things I have held in my hands. And then she writes biographies of all of the artists, like a short biography and then a painting. It is a weird book. I think it is extraordinary. Yeah.
I think that the cover is a little bit spicy. Spicy. Like there's some nudity.
It has boobs on it.
It has boobs
and a monkey.
And a monkey. I think there are some books that I feel like you pick out, and I'm just like, I need this. Like this speaks to me so much. That was one of the books where I'm just like, if I had a place where I had a coffee table, like this would be the coffee table book that I would have 100%.
Also, Money Shot, with its last issue, it started its third arc, and as a new artist, and she is adorable. So if you weren't reading Money Shot before, you can totally start picking up in singles, starting with last issue. And it is, Money Shot is the story of the team of scientists who are tired of writing government grants and decide that they will instead fund their space exploration by shooting live porn with the aliens they encounter. It is spicy.
Even though I kind of make fun of, I'm just going to say people who buy Dynamite only for the covers. I know you're not reading it. I am one of those people. I'm telling on myself here a little bit. I'm not reading Money Shot month to month, but I sure love those spicy covers a lot. They are very nice.
Same. And it's very funny. It is funny to me how much the larger premise is space exploration drama, but really what the story is these relationship dynamics between this crew. Bobby, do I put stamps on my giveaway books? I actually put stickers on my giveaway books.
I saw you in there stickering all of them.
Because sometimes they print glossy covers, and I spent my first 2 years of Free Comic Book Day laying them out and then waiting an hour for them to dry so that I could put them away again. So I've switched to cheap rolls of stickers.
Yeah. That's why you're the pro. It's because you know all these things.
It's more expensive to buy stickers for the books than it is to stamp the books, but it is worth it to not have to spend 2 hours of waiting for books to dry.
Time is money. Money's time. Or you got to spend money to save money. That's what I say to myself every time I go to the register at your shop. I'm like, got to spend money to save money.
I don't know where you're saving money, but I do appreciate when you spend it.
I'm not saving any money whatsoever. As anyone who watches the show on the weekly basis can tell, when I'm just like, yeah, I think this week I got 15 variant covers for some reason. So
Because they were pretty and
they
or
were pretty.
smutty.
Pretty smut is yeah, my brand. Is there anything else that since we're drawing here to a little over an hour now, is there anything else that you want to talk about with Free Comic Book Day? You want to plug your shop, plug whatever you want.
No.
Anything else you have to say?
You should go. You should go to Free Comic Book Day. You should wear a mask. You should follow the rules. You should not be a jerk about it. You should do whatever anybody who appears to be working there tells you to do. And I think it's going to be a really good time. Yeah. And subscribe to the books you're reading. Don't rely on buying books off the shelves. It is exhausting for all of us.
Yeah. So if you're there, if you come to Books with Pictures on Saturday, I'll be there. I will, I don't want to say I'll be yelling at people to wear masks. I don't, I'm not saying I'll fight people, but like you can meet me behind, no, I'm just kidding. Katie, seriously, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for talking with me. I love, it's not every Wednesday where I get to go and see you and hang out with you on Wednesday. Sometimes it's brief. Sometimes I'm like on my lunch break and I'm like, I've got 5 minutes, bye. And then, something happens. Anyways, so thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate, like, seriously, from the bottom of my broken heart, I love what you do. I love the space that you provide for people. And I really think, I seriously believe that if every comic book store was like Books with Pictures, and I understand it can't be, that's why it's Books with Pictures, but if every store was like Books with Pictures, like comic book stores would be like the new thing. Comic book stores, we wouldn't be like worrying about this business. So you're like a role model for comic books, and you're Eisner nominated. Your shop is Eisner nominated.
True.
And I don't know if I need to like hashtag Books with Pictures for Eisner 2022. But you deserve it. I don't know.
We're
More than
working on
any
it.
other.
We'll get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
2022.
for having me on. Thank you to all of your fabulous commenters stream for hanging out. This was really fun.
Yeah, it was excellent. Getting a lot of love here in the chat. So, and also I do want to say thank you to our special guest JP as well for making an appearance. I really appreciate that too. I hope you have a lovely night. I will see you Saturday. So bye everybody. Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you for being here.